Origin Unexplained.
Welcome back to Origin Unexplained. I'm Sue, I'm your host, and today we're going to do part 2. A little bit more interesting than the last one. The last one, I described what the thing was. Today I'm going to describe the stories people have spoke about. In the dense forests of Lower Silesia, near the Wenceslas mine, whispers of a Nazi secret weapon began to surface after World War II. Something so strange and advanced, it defied all known science. They called it Die Glocke, the bell that is also known as the Nazi bell. Shaped like a large metallic bell, roughly 9 to 12 feet high and about 4 to 5 feet in diameter, it allegedly emitted a strange purplish blue glow when activated. The first stories came from captured SS documents and interviews with former Nazi scientists, but what drew the world's attention were the accounts of what it was said to do. One former Polish intelligence officer, Igor Wachowski, claimed in the early 2000s that he'd seen classified documents describing Die Glocke as a device that used a mysterious substance known only as Cerium-525, and that its activation caused extreme electromagnetic disruption, biological decay in nearby living tissue, and even distorted the flow of time. One of the most haunting stories tied to Die Glocke came from locals in the area who claimed they were warned to stay away from the Wenceslas mine during the war. Some reported seeing SS guards escorting emaciated prisoners into tunnels, never to return. Others spoke of strange noises at night, high-pitched whining, rumbling, and sometimes an unnatural silence. They would suddenly fall over the valley. A farmer living just outside of the restricted area told his granddaughter years later that animals would become agitated for days at a time, and that sometimes in the early morning fog, the trees looked like they were bending unnaturally, almost as if reality itself was warping. One account, possibly the most bizarre, came decades later from a former U.S. intelligence source who claimed that when American forces moved in to capture Nazi technology, they found traces of Die Glocke being tested in the mountains. According to him, there were dead birds scattered for miles around the site as if something had fried their nervous systems mid-flight. Others spoke of men who entered the testing chambers and never came out the same, if they came out at all. One of the more persistent legends is that Die Glocke, it wasn't just a propulsion experiment, it was a time machine. Several supposed witnesses claimed to have seen shimmering distortions around the bell as it was powered on. One man whose story was passed down in hushed tones said that a friend of his, an SS officer, vanished during one of the final tests. According to the story, he walked into the chamber and was never seen again. But on the wall where he had stood, a handprint burned deep into the concrete remained. Ooh. Another eerie connection is with the Kecksburg incident in Pennsylvania in 1965. A bell-shaped object reportedly fell from the sky and was quickly cordoned off by U.S. military forces. Eyewitnesses said it was bronze-colored, about the size of a small car, and bore strange markings that looked like hieroglyphs. The resemblance to Die Glocke was uncanny. Some believe the object was recovered, Nazi technology hidden away later and tested by U.S. Black Ops programs. Whether it was really the Nazi bell or just a coincidence remains unknown, but the parallels have only fueled the mystery. Over the years, many have tried to dismiss Die Glocke as myth, an exaggeration from post-war rumor mills or Cold War disinformation. But the consistency of the details, well, its bell-like shape, strange energy effects, and connection to time or dimension manipulation keep resurfacing in unrelated accounts. To this day, the ruins of the Wenceslas mines, particularly a concrete structure some call the henge, still stand as silent sentinels to whatever was once tested there. There are some strange and persistent stories tied to that. One of the most intriguing claims came from former military contractor who worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. This is the same base often tied to the Roswell incident. In a retired interview from the 1990s, he said there was a bell-shaped object that was hidden deep in one of the hangars that was not from here, though he wouldn't clarify if he meant from another country or another world. He described it as dull grayish metal with a narrow top and flared bottom and said it had no obvious seams. He claimed that he and others were told not to ask questions and it was only referred to as the artifact. Years later, conspiracy researchers started connecting that object with the shape and size of Digloka, raising questions about whether it had been moved from Germany to the U.S. through Operation Paperclip or a separate black ops channel. Now, here's my thought. Who's to say, if it had no lines or seams in it, who's to say that Germany didn't have one come down over there, that it wasn't necessarily created by them, that it's otherworldly? I mean, come on. There's another story, even weirder, that came from retired Pennsylvania steelworker who lived near the Kecksburg area. After the 1965 crash, he swore he saw military trucks hauling the bell-shaped object away in the middle of the night. He said it looked like a big old acorn, but when shown a diagram of Digloka, he said it looked damn close. The strange thing was he remembered seeing what looked like scaffolding or braces being used to move it, almost like they had rehearsed the loading process. Other witnesses nearby said they saw men in strange hazmat-like suits moving around the crash site before the military even officially arrived. These reports were scattered but eerily similar. There was also a long whispered rumor from inside Los Alamos, New Mexico's top secret lab, where a visiting researcher in the early 1980s said he was taken to an underground facility where something impossible was being studied. He described it as a massive bell suspended by thick chains sitting in the center of a sealed room. He wasn't allowed near it, but the guards called it the bell relic and joked it only rings for the brave. Some say this could have been an attempt to black engineer Digloka technology, or that the U.S. had obtained the original device decades earlier and was still trying to figure it out. So while no one has claimed to see it being walked out like in a parade, there are multiple accounts of bell-shaped objects being hidden, transported, or buried, always under heavy security, always with a sense of fear or awe around them. It's that same shape, the same secrecy, and the same sense that whatever it is, it doesn't quite belong in this world that we know of. So there you have it. Digloka, the Nazi bell. Google that. It's pretty interesting stuff. You can always go back to the last episode where I talk about it a little bit more and so on. But anyway, guys, it's time for the bloopers. And there were some rough ones there.
Time for the bloopers.
Near the Wenceslas. First sentence, can't even talk. Go back to in the dense. In the dense forests of Lower Silesia, near the Wenceslas mine, whispers of, and it still didn't sound fucking right. In the dense forests of Lower Silesia, near the Wenceslas mine. Fucking hell, 3 times. Again. They called it Digloka. And I didn't say that right either. Apparently I'm not German. Go back to they. And yes, I have it in me. Polish intelligence officer, Igor. I can't even officer. Go back to 1. Claimed in the early 2000s. Anybody want to offer me their gosh darn tongue? Because it's like the first day with my new fucking tongue here. Yes, I'm swearing. Go back to 1. Time machine. Several supposed Damn it. Y'all are probably laughing at me by now with all these glitches I'm making today. Back to several. This has been another episode of Origin Unexplained. If you have a story you would like to tell or would like told, email us at originunexplained@gmail.com.
Origin Unexplained.